Hello my little love muffins, welcome to the LovelessGamer show where every game deserves a little love. And we're in the middle of Sonic Month where I'm talking about the Sonic racing games. So if you haven't watched the first part, click the annotation or check in the description below. If you have watched it, then we're wasting time, let's go! Take Sonic for a ride. Sonic Riders! I didn't know how to transition that. Released in 2006 to kick off Sonic's 15th birthday before getting the best-worst birthday present ever, this game not only replaces Cars and Feet with that hoverboard we should have gotten a year ago, but it introduces a whole new batch of characters. See, in this game, Eggman gets in contact with a group of treasure-seeking thieves called the Babylon Rogues, who are skilled in the art of racing these hoverboards called Extreme Gear. Now that we got that joke out the way, Eggman tells them that they can find Babylon Garden and acquire the treasure hidden within with the Chaos Emeralds and the key that their leader, Jet, has. So they go out to steal one and catches the attention of Team Sonic, who was also looking for the Chaos Emeralds. Although I feel like I've seen this radar from somewhere. However, despite their, Sonic's best efforts to chase them down, the rogues escape. The next day, Eggman makes a public announcement about the World Grand Prix, a race to see who's the fastest on Extreme Gear, with the grand prize being the Chaos Emeralds. So Team Sonic finally decides to enter the race after they realize that the Babylon Rogues will be participating. Oh yeah, and Amy's there too because she's a stalker. Again. Now this is a very simple premise, especially compared to what this series normally gives us. However, there are just a few problems I have with it, like say, I don't know. Yeah, just a few. Now, despite my nitpicky issues, I still very much enjoyed the story. What helps sell this story for me is how cartoony the game treated Sonic. The cutscenes and in-game models are very exaggerated and expressive, which makes it a lot more fun to watch. I mean, when was the last time you seen a Sonic character do this? Now, as for the actual gameplay, it's alright, I guess. Steering and other basic movements are fine, but drifting just flat out sucks. It's so unnatural and inaccurate. I almost always end up missing the turn somehow. Not to mention, drifting takes a good chunk of your fuel, or air. Which leads me to my next problem. Now, I'm not a fan of the idea of having to manage fuel doing a high-speed racing game, and this game doesn't do a good job in convincing me otherwise. For starters, you use your air for everything. Drifting, boosting, jumping, going straight! And I feel like it drains too quickly. I've been in the red more times than necessary. When you run out of air, you are forced off your board and you have to continue on foot. While on foot, you can jump, turn easily, boost, or go fast. The fastest thing alive can't run fast in this game. I don't know how to feel about this. The only way you can refill your air is to either pick up a useless power-up, stop at a pit station, or perform tricks by jumping off ramps. And to be fair, I love performing tricks in this game. Using the left analog stick to perform tricks is oddly satisfying, and performing a high-ranking trick fills that special hole that's been missing in my life. I mean, I've always wanted to do the hip-hop invert, or the air method, or stale Japan. Now, all the characters in this game are divided into 3 different types: speed, flight, and power. Each type has their own set of racing stats and a special skill that can be used in a race to access shortcuts that are otherwise inaccessible. Also, I like how, aside from the standard character gear, all the X gear that can be bought in the shop has a special ability that you can use in a race. These abilities include a slower air consumption rate, auto sliding, and even allowing other characters to use other type skills. And you can buy this stuff with the rings you collect in a race. Although you can only get a maximum of 100 rings per race. And that's not an easy thing to do since there aren't that many rings floating on the track and you'll have to rely on crappy power-ups. So if you want a gear that costs, say, 1,000 rings, you'll have to do at minimum 10 races. But that's not the only thing these rings are good for in this game. I mean, I didn't rank it the #1 Sonic item for nothing, am I right? This is a shameless plug. When you collect enough rings in the race, your gear gets upgraded, which powers up your boost attack and increases your speed and air tank. And I like this mechanic. It gives you a reason to collect as many rings as possible aside from currency. But if you get attacked, you're gonna lose all those little perks. Also, I just want to point out that this is the first Sonic racing game where the extra modes were actually fun. At least fun enough to talk about. Not so much the Chaos Emerald game. That's annoying. I'm talking more about the really cool battle mode. Mainly because you have to ram into your opponents like Gladiator. Or you can wait for the Eagles to do the work for you. Now, as weird as this is gonna sound, I actually like this battle mode more than Mario Kart's. Not by much, mind you, but I feel like here you rely less on items and more on skill. So needless to say, this game has some good things going for it. However, there are still a few hit or misses that prevent this game from being great. Luckily, the sequel corrects a lot of those misses. Why do I feel like I've said that before? Well, for starters, they went for a more realistic approach with the design, which, I don't know. I really like the cartoony approach from before, but whatever. At least it looks decent. Also, upgrades no longer disappear when you lose rings, which saves them my frustration. And Omochao is nowhere to be seen, which is already better because having him comment on everything you did got real annoying really fast. Now, the most important change this game did was replacing air with gravity. Unlike air, which powered everything, gravity only powered your extra abilities like gravity control and gravity dive, which is how it should have been to begin with. Gravity control is mainly used for drifting tight corners and sticking onto certain walls, while gravity dive propels you forward at an extremely high speed, but at the cost of not being able to turn very well. The only issue I have is that gravity control is the closest thing you'll get to a drift. That is, unless you have the wheel, which somehow drifts worse than in the original.
Goodness, people, I know this is a crazy concept for you humans, but ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. Just thought I'd drop that nugget.
Well, you thought wrong. Now, shh. Anyway, you can regain gravity points by sticking to walls, getting a useless item, or doing a trick, which I'm sad to say has been simplified to press jump at the right time to perform a pre-programmed trick. Now don't get me wrong, it's not bad by any means, it helps keep the race fast-paced if anything, but a part of me is still gonna miss making Japan stale. Also, I should point out that the story in here is better than in the original, despite the fact that the original is the only game I can think of where Eggman technically wins. Oh yeah, I forgot to conclude that last story. Eggman wins. Now in this game, Team Sonic and Team Babylon are collecting these stones known as the Arcs of the Cosmos, which has the ability to charge up gravity and either release it or convert it into fuel for a spaceship, which is later revealed to be Babylon Garden. These stones also cause the robots from the company MediaTek to go on a rampage as they frantically track down the stones. Now what I really like about this story is that instead of it being revolved around a Grand Prix or a race, it's an actual story. Like, with characters, plot, and a reason for everyone being at a certain place at a certain time, as opposed to, the game wants them there, we could just say this is how the race was organized as an excuse to avoid thinking. I am the pinnacle of comedy.
Gerald, we're running low on time. The great evil will be here soon and we don't have time to waste.
Will you relax? I got this. We still have plenty of time to review 3 games. Assuming this love-like thing is actually working. I haven't seen no proof of this, actually.
The lights will reveal itself when it's time. Now be quick about this.
Well, I would if you stop pestering me and let me do my job. So, if there's no more interruptions, next up is Sonic Freeriders, a game that's widely known to suck. Spoilers, it kinda does. But not that much. I mean, to start, this game requires a Kinect in order to play it, so I had to order one off of Amazon. Only for me to realize that my Xbox is too old, so I had to go buy an adapter from Walmart. And that wasn't exactly easy, but after 30 minutes, I finally found one that would work. And luckily, it did. But oops, looks like I have to connect to the internet in order to get an update so I could use it. So it's back to Walmart to get an Ethernet cord so I can connect to the internet. So after getting an Ethernet cord, setting up an Xbox Live account, and waiting a literal hour for the game to download, I was finally ready to play the game. Now at this point, I was already frustrated beyond belief. Like I was just hoping, praying that this game didn't suck to control, that the Kinect wasn't as crappy as I heard it was. And to my surprise, it kinda isn't. Why are you looking at me like that? Now it's easy to say that the Kinect sucks, and don't get me wrong, it kinda does, but it works. The best way I can describe my experience with the Kinect is that it does what you want, just not in the way you want it when you want it. I mean, navigating the menus, despite what I heard, was not as uncontrollable as they made it out to be. Sure, it didn't always do what I wanted, but it wasn't nearly as bad as some people said. I didn't have much of a problem with it anyway. Now turning, on the other hand, is a completely different story. You turn by leaning from side to side, but sometimes when you lean, it doesn't track your movements. Trying to steer yourself to, say, pick up some rings is near impossible unless you know the track beforehand. And even then, it doesn't help that much. That's because the Kinect doesn't understand fast or small movements. To get the most out of your Kinect, you have to make big, slow, and exaggerated movements, which is why I think those dance games work well with the Kinect, and that's not even considering the programming. Now, on a completely unrelated note, the track design is not bad. It has multiple paths, lots of exciting turns and jumps, a stage gimmick that's simple to understand, all of which is combined with the beautiful colors that accompany the track. Like, this is easily the best looking tracks in the Rider series. Now, if only the cutscenes followed suit. Instead, they decided to dull the colors and use this stupid TV gimmick that amounts to absolutely nothing. Like, just imagine if I took my Secret Rings review, dulled out the colors, added a static effect, and put it on a TV screen with a crappy TV logo. All while the dialogue is being accompanied by the game's repetitive song that's louder than it should be. Would you want to watch that for 20 minutes? And don't even get me started on the contents of those cutscenes, because the story here is just... ugh. See, this time a man named King Doc starts a war with promises of a huge cash prize and treasure. An egg-shaped man is the driving force of the plot. Who could it possibly be? Shall we guess now? Let's see how screwed we are. The main difference here is that this time there's 4 teams. Team Heroes, Team Babylon, Team Rose featuring Victor, and Team Dark featuring Robot Boy. That was a good TV show. Now you progress through the game by playing through a team story, in which it plays through the game with the scenario of them winning the race. Now I'm not all that fond of stories that ultimately don't matter, but I don't mind as long as they're interesting. This story is not that. It's barely a story. Like, I like it so much better if they just said they were racing just because they felt like racing. And even with this whole scenarios thing, the plot makes absolutely no sense. But you know what? I feel like I need to get back to that. I gotta build up a little bit. So, going back to a more positive tone, this game decided to add a point system. When doing a normal race, you can equip perks to give you an edge on the track, such as increased speed, durability, or type skill. It's a nice little customization mechanic, giving me a little choice on how I want to race my gear. And you can buy more gear parts, along with gear, at the shop for cheap, since instead of taking off that ring cap, it just made everything easier to acquire. Not exactly the solution I was looking for, but hey, it works. Now, it's been a while since I said this, but the power-ups in this game are actually not useless. I feel like they actually have an impact on the game aside from giving me money and fuel, like weapons that actually work. I mean, I'm not gonna say these are necessarily unique, it's clear that they modeled these to push the Kinect gimmick, and even then the movements don't always work. But at least it's more useful than literal air in a can. Also, the type skills are still here, and all of them are annoying because of this Kinect gimmick. For flight, you have to spread your arms out to glide into an air booster and flap to get higher. But the flap it didn't happen, like, not even once. So I'd end up missing that mission where I have to fly through a certain number of boosters to advance. As a power, you have to physically punch the obstacle in the way. And while it is satisfying, it doesn't always work. Unless you punch a very specific way, you'll mostly end up doing this. As for speed, grinding on a rail is not bad. Just steer in front of a rail and keep your balance. It's relatively easy to do. The problem arises when I found out that you have to face a certain direction in order for some abilities to work. Like, why? That character's not racing, I am. If I want to grind that Sonic while facing to the left, I should be able to do that. Why do I even have to say that? Now, this was all happening during a race that took me 20 minutes to beat, which only brought a lot of the problems I had with this game to the forefront. The poor tracking, the tedious tap skills, the fact that I'm exercising. It was all just so tedious and frustrating that at the end of the day, I didn't even bother to complete the game. I only ended up doing the Sonic storyline. So I decided to look up the ending cutscenes on YouTube so I can figure out how it all ends. And that's when I figured out that I don't really need to complete the entire game, because the ending is made in such a way that it doesn't matter who wins. But there are a couple endings that are sprinkled in there that I'll go ahead and spill to you guys right now. Just let me get my little reading glasses and the list and... Alright, Surprise! King Doc is actually Eggman. Did you guess right? Surprise! Eggman has been using Robot Boy to collect racing data that he's gonna use to become really fast. Surprise! He still loses. Surprise! Eggman got false info because Metal Sonic wants to use the data for himself. Surprise! Robot Boy is actually Metal Sonic in disguise. I think I might have those last two out of order. Surprise! Metal Sonic challenges Sonic to a race. Surprise! He still loses and runs away. Surprise! Eggman lied about the prize. Now I know there might be some questions you may have about these twists. I really only have one.
What's the point?
Why is Eggman doing any of this? So he can be called the world's fastest? He technically already is. And even if he isn't, what could be gained? There is no reason for any of this to happen. This was a waste of time. There was no danger. There were no stakes aside from we might lose, which you don't even know who did since the game creates 4 separate timelines with an identical ending. But hey, at least they had fun. I think I'm ready to do the love ratings now. So I decided to give Sonic Riders my love rating of inexperienced mechanic. Let's say I have to get the front bumper of my car fixed and upgrade the sound system while I'm at it. So I go to this mechanic. Sure, they fix the bumper and makes the car functional, but the sound system is now crap because this person decided to do a whole bunch of innovations that just don't work. Like, say, wire all the sound to come out of one side of the car. That's Sonic Riders. It functions and has the basic components of a racing game, like decent controls, a good aesthetic, and even a decent story. But most of the things that it does to set itself apart just falls flat, turning what could be a great game to merely be above average. As for Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, I'm gonna give it my love rating of great mechanic. So I simply can't take listening to the radio on my left side anymore, so I decided to take the car into another mechanic to get this fixed. And this mechanic is absolutely amazing. Not only did he fix the problems that the last mechanic made, but he also did a whole bunch of other improvements like airing my tires or replacing my wipers. Sure, there are still a few mistakes here and there. He also tries to do some things that just don't work, but he's leagues better than the other mechanic. Same goes for this game. Zero Gravity improves a lot on the previous game's mechanics, such as refining the fueling system, changing up the upgrades, and even making a more coherent story. Sure, there are still a few flaws, such as simplified tricks and weird drift controls, but overall, I'd call this a good game. Now, Sonic Free Riders, I'm gonna give this my love rating of Uncle Mechanic. So let's take that scenario I made and fast forward a couple of months, and now I need an oil change. But I don't have the money for this great mechanic because I spent most of it on props for this show. Luckily, for just a few cans of beer and a bag of chips, my uncle decides to take it upon himself to do it. And now I don't have a car anymore because he somehow damaged it beyond repair. I don't think I need to explain any further about this. Ignoring the frustrating process of trying to get this game to work in the first place, this game is just not that good. It tries to use the Kinect as a gimmick, which isn't refined to do what the game wants it to do, which leads to a whole bunch of issues regarding control. I mean, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. I've definitely played much worse, but this game is just not good. Man, that was abrupt. I really didn't know how to end this video, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, check out some of the other videos I've made, and if you want to, become a Left Muffin by subscribing. That way you'll know whenever I make a new video. That's pretty much all that needs to be said. I got the checklist and I think I checked everything out. Oh yeah, Facebook and Twitter.